soon. And we're live. Welcome, Marlon. How you doing?
Thank you. All good over here in Germany. How are you doing?
Perfect. Also great.
Cool.
We
Perfect.
are here to discuss fasting, not eating. How do we start? Do you just want to maybe tell a little
I
bit of
mean,
your background, and then we talk
I
about
mean,
similarities, ideas? Yeah.
I think we both have our own experience with fasting, right? And maybe our own perspective on it. I think both of us have a good perception of fasting, a positive perception of fasting, and see the benefits. Maybe first of all, for me, it would be interesting. You said you include fasting into your lifestyle, or actually fasting is part of your lifestyle. So how do you, in what way do you include it or implement it to your lifestyle?
It's interesting that you asked because I thought about it earlier today. Because today is a special day, I haven't eaten yet, and that's actually a little bit later for me than normal. So normally I do intermittent fasting, or basically I just skip breakfast because most of the time I don't feel like having breakfast. And then it's just when I start working or even working out, and it gets later in the day till I'm hungry. But 3 is a little bit later than usual. Let's get into why that is a little bit later. But yeah, I'm also a big fan of not just intermittent fasting, but like maybe doing 24 hours, 36 hours, like skipping a complete day from waking up to going to bed.
Oh wow.
Even though I didn't do that for a while, I kind of that's a practice that I sometimes do once a week, and then sometimes not for a few months. But yeah, but the intermittent fasting or just like skipping breakfast is just became natural.
Yeah.
It's and
And I think
like, oh yeah.
and I think that's what happens, right? Like for me also, like especially like the first 2 or 3 weeks when I start intermittent fasting, I sometimes do it for a few weeks and then I sometimes don't. Depends on my goals. So as soon as I start, okay, it's sometimes a little bit hard, more or less, to actually like extend the fasting phase 1 or 2 hours more and be a little hungry. But as soon as you get used to it, it gets super easy and it feels super natural. For me also, I always like at least I have 12-hour fasting phases on a daily basis. So after the last meal of the day, I don't eat for at least 12 hours always, because I just want to give my digestion the or my body the time to digest and actually make um actually feel like hungry as soon as I start eating, and not just eat because it's morning. So usually like 12 hours is a minimum. And then when I start intermittent fasting, or when I have the goal of, for example, losing weight or just feeling a little healthier, I do intermittent fasting. And I usually start easy. I go for 13-11 and see how that goes for a week. So my body gets used to 13 hours of fasting. And then in the next week, I might try 14-10. And then actually I'm already on a like in a like on a like with 14-10, I still feel like it's not a struggle, right? And
Yeah.
then sometimes these 15 or 16 hours, 17 hours, that is sometimes a little bit of a struggle, not a real struggle, because as I said, I actually feel the benefits of it. But this is when I actually have to actively extend the fasting phase and just, how do you say, feel a little bit hungry for 1 or 2 hours. But that is fine. I see the benefits, right?
And it's maybe a good time to talk about like actionable tips right away. Like if you would recommend to someone who tries fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And we also talked about, like, I feel that I mean, I never thought about that before, but I thought it was funny when you say like the 12 hours minimum.
Uh-huh.
If you think about the recommendation of not eating before like 2 hours before going to bed, and then sleeping 8 hours, and then having this morning routine and working out, then automatically, if you follow that, you're at your 12 hours of
Yeah,
fasting, ideally.
exactly. But there is people who eat like who don't eat for just 8 hours. They eat until late in the night and they eat as soon
Yeah.
as they wake up. And I think that's not
Definitely.
healthy, right?
And also, I feel like that's like sometimes I have sugar cravings or late night snacking, and then I feel like I'm way hungrier next morning. Like my body is just still in
Yeah,
this eating mode, and then it gets even harder not to eat
yeah, exactly.
because you're used to eating. And the
Excellent.
other way around, so if like you say, if you're used to fasting, and but we also talked about the duration. Like I think 16 hours should be minimum. For you, you often say it's 14 to make it more approachable.
Mhm.
Like, what have you found to like to push it more if you want it, or like are there any tips or strategies? How do you try to deal with the hunger?
What I always recommend my clients and what I do myself is to drink a lot of water on in that
Or
fasting phase. The thing that you do right now, as an example, and actually fill the stomach with water. That helps a little bit. It won't help like 100% in some occasions, but it usually helps a little bit to give like the body or the stomach the sign or the signal that it's full. All right, so there is something, even if it's just water. But also, what helps a lot, I think, is actually working out, exercising. So might sometimes be hard, like the first 5 minutes, especially if you're not used to it yet. But as soon, also, this is a thing you get used to if you do it on a regular basis, and that's why I think that can actually help a little bit. And the rest is just getting used to it, doing it for long enough, and then your body will actually not need the food in the morning because it is not necessary,
yeah.
right?
So then you recommend working out in the morning to extend the fast.
Yes, that's what I myself do sometimes, but also what some of my clients do. And actually, this is also a way to boost your weight loss
That's
and
what I
burn even more fat, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's my experience too, or at least it feels like it as well. Like when you're working out fasted, especially then like more steady state cardio, like going for a run in the morning or doing yoga,
mhm,
or yoga is not steady state cardio, but like less weightlifting activities, maybe
mhm,
more sweat
mhm.
and yeah, more breathing and like more metabolism in
Yeah,
total.
yeah, yeah,
And then it really feels like you're burning a different type of energy or
yeah. And
using a different type of energy.
actually I think you do. And there's like this. There's two benefits to it, right? You extend the fasting phase. You're not gonna be hungry when you do sports. You're not hungry as soon as you're
Afterwards, yeah,
running or doing whatever exercise, and
yeah.
your metabolism is actually working and increased, then you won't actually be hungry, right? And this
And
is
I
one
feel like
thing.
that lasts for long. Like depending on how intense the workout is, like an hour or two afterwards, I would have to force myself to eat.
Definitely,
This
definitely.
is
This is an easy way to extend it, and I think that is a very, very good thing also to do it. But then maybe you tell me about the benefits of these. I mean, I always talk about intermittent fasting because it's the only thing that I have experience with. But you
yeah.
said like sometimes you fast for 24 hours, like 30 hours or something. That sounds pretty tough, no?
Actually, not that much. I mean, the longest I did was 70 hours or 72
Mhm.
or something. Like that should be 3 days.
Uh-huh.
I had clients who did 5 days.
Ooh.
Or I think even longer. And I mean, if you read online, there's people who do like 10-day water fasts and all that stuff. And so from my research or what I see online, I think the maximum that's really, or what do you say, like where the return on investment gets
The,
lower.
the only
Uh-huh.
the last thing that is healthy, right? That could
No, I sorry, I forget how to say it in English. The point of diminishing returns of
uh-huh,
fasting seems to be around 5 days.
uh-huh.
And it's also like I said, I did 3 days before, 2 days regularly when I was doing it more focused.
Mhm.
And like many others too, I have the experience you have more energy to work
Yeah.
out in the first 2 or 3 days, and then on the day 4 and 5, it seems to be like more of a struggle.
Uh-huh.
But and that's another important point. I feel like that staying active while fasting, even though it's just a short period, is super important. Either by fasting, by when intermittent fasting, working out in the morning, or if you're doing it for longer time, you need to intensely strength train every day. So if I do, so what I mostly did was, like, for example, I stopped eating Monday evening. The whole Tuesday I don't eat, and then Wednesday I have a late breakfast. But on Monday I train hard. On Tuesday I train extra hard, and on Wednesday, and especially if I try to push it to maybe lunch or even late dinner to make it like 2.5 days, like super hard workout, high intensity stuff, sprinting, plyo stuff, like really getting into a tough place. And then the workout is actually harder than the fasting. But also from like how hard is it actually, it's again getting used to it. There's a few strategies. I feel like, as you say, like drinking a lot of water. I put salt, sea salt in some glasses of water I drink. I feel like it gives like the feeling of having some more nutrients or whatever, even though it's not there. And then the hunger, the feeling goes away. Like after 15-20 minutes, if you stay busy, if you do something, if you go for a walk, yeah.
I mean, in the end, the energy is stored in the body, right? So your body has enough energy to keep itself alive from, let's say, like that.
Exactly.
So it's just, we are used to eating all the time. But this is also what brings me like to another question, which we just have mentioned like slightly. Why all that? Like, what is the why? Why would you be fasting, right? It's not about, I don't know, like punishing yourself for something, but actually it is to like, it has benefits to it, right? So
definitely.
What would you say are the benefits of fasting?
I mean, there's a lot of on paper benefits that I'm not a doctor enough to say if they're true, but like the list would be like, it's healthy, like your older cells get sorted out, and like your digestion improves and all that. And
but maybe
sounds right.
For you personally, what do you experience?
And that's for me, like what I experience, like it feels like this is happening, like it just feels healthy, like the body is in a better state. Like I feel like it's a cleaner physical experience. Like I wake up with a different feeling. I'm not sluggish. It's yeah. It has definitely, it helps me focus, helps me stay working for longer or be more productive, stay with something. And I mean, everybody knows that. Like if you eat 2 big donuts and then you try to do like a crossword puzzle or your programming work, that's difficult. Like, and you fall into this hole. And I think that's what's surprising to most people, is that they feel like if they're not eating, they would have low energy, or they would be tired more, they wouldn't be able to focus. And I feel it's completely different, the opposite.
Yeah.
And I feel it the most when I do jiu-jitsu after fasting for a long time. And it's just like you think quicker, you move quicker. It's just, yeah, this special mode. And I also just, like, for me, the benefit is I just enjoy that state. It just feels good.
Yeah.
And so this is, yeah, for me, probably most, also how I got into it, just by feeling that not eating feels better.
Yeah.
And then at the beginning, I was worried, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. Like everyone tells me breakfast is the most important, but it felt different. And so
I think that's a pretty big myth that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? Like I feel exactly the opposite, and I feel like you do. I feel more energetic when I do intermittent fasting. I tell you very honestly, like right now I don't do it, but I've been doing it a few weeks ago. And I always, as soon as I start doing it and like increasing the hours, I always do the 12-12 as we said. But like as soon as I start like from 14-10, then 15-16, 15-9 and 16-8, this is when I really feel the benefits of intermittent fasting. I feel more energetic. I feel healthier. As you said, I feel like cleaner in a way. And I mean, this is because our body and our digestive system has the time to actually work with all the stuff that we eat all day, and to actually digest it, and to actually cure some inflammations in our body. And I think also this is scientific knowledge that that we can cure inflammations with fasting. And this is also, I think this is because that's what I experienced. This is that um, state or that feeling of feeling like cleaner in a way, right?
Yeah.
And feeling, and this gives you more, or gives me more energy personally. But also, I think there's a second big advantage to intermittent fasting: weight loss, right?
Yeah.
So with most of my clients, or with a lot of my clients, I start intermittent fasting. They want to lose weight. Obviously, only those who actually should lose weight, let's say, or for whom it makes sense to lose weight because they're a little bit overweight. So we want to lose weight. We don't want to make their life too complicated. Start with some super strict low carb diet, or I don't know, whatever, a crazy diet, but actually start super easy with regulating the times they eat and they don't eat. And then also, this is what I do with my clients. Usually we start with seeing how 12-12 works, 12 hours fasting, 12 hours eating. Then in the second week, we go for 13-11. If they tell me, hey, it's cool, I can still increase or improve a little bit. So we go for 14-10. Then they say, okay, it's still doable. So then we can go for 15-9. All right. So you can still regulate a little bit when somebody tells me, okay, 59 is the last thing that I can do. Otherwise, like it's too much fasting. Then I say, okay, cool. Then if this is enjoyable for you and effective for your weight loss and for your well-being, then cool. Then we lock it in like that, 59. And usually that helps already, even if people don't do sports, or if they wouldn't do sports in the same time, to lose weight, right?
And a discussion I see around that I would be like interested in your view. Like there's two ideas. Like first would be like if you only have like let's say 8 or 9 hours a day where you can eat, you just have less time to eat as many calories, and so it's the
Mhm.
basic calories in, calories
Mhm.
out
Uh-huh.
calculation. So
Uh-huh.
this would be one point of view.
Mhm. Yeah.
But then what I also heard and what makes also some sense to me, that's like if you're in a fasting period and um like you change, I don't want to say change your metabolism, but like in layman's terms, like you
Mhm.
change your metabolism for like this fasting
Mhm.
period, like after 13, 14, 15 hours when the body changes.
These last hours before you eat, right?
Yes, exactly. And then where you also feel like where you start to feel hungry, but also
Mhm.
maybe feel like this energy surge
Yeah.
and this cleanness that we were talking about. And let's say like you don't do any fasting and you eat like 2000 calories in a day, or you do intermittent fasting and you still eat the 2000 calories, but you have this fasting period.
Mhm.
Like, do you think this changes how the calories are used, or how the body, or do you think you can still change the body composition, or is it basically just calories in, calories out, and it's just a time restriction that doesn't allow people to eat as much?
It's actually a very good question. I've been wondering and researching on that for a while, and there is studies that prove exactly that. That prove exactly that. I mean, obviously, you have less time to eat calories, so you might eat less calories, but also your metabolism is, how do you say, improved or increased. So you actually burn more calories than you would burn without fasting, and from that actually have a higher calorie, like burn more calories each day, right? In
Yeah,
the same time, also the second point that you mentioned of eating less because you have less time to eat is, I think, also true. What happens to me as well. As soon as as I start fasting, I eat less, obviously because I have less time, but also because I feel like my stomach is smaller. It's not as it's like I don't have to eat so much to be full. And this also, like, in a very natural way, helps me to eat less because I'm full like faster. Because after
yeah,
16 hours of fasting, for example, your stomach is sorry, your stomach is way more, I don't know, it's just smaller, right?
yeah, yeah,
So,
definitely. Or like then again, the other way around, like I mentioned earlier, when I a late night snack, especially then sweet, I'm more used, like I wake up and craving food, and it's like a different, and then it's also easier to, or harder to not again overeat even if you have a fixed fasting period.
Yes.
And for me, it's what it made me think about what we were talking about it, like the benefits or the why. I also believe, like since the body was made for not having food over time, it's a stressor to be hungry over longer periods of time. But it's the same as we do strength training. We stress the muscle to make it stronger because it's a mechanism that exists in the body that needs to be used to be functional.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that, and that's maybe why I do the longer fast, because I feel the cleansing part happens maybe in the first 16 to 20 hours. And then when you feel the switch to being more focused, and then like it's not even really hungry. Like the first 2 days, I feel like if you would go like 2 weeks without food, it would feel even worse. Like, but you feel a little uncomfortable, it goes away after 20 minutes. But then like the body gets into the stressed mode. And I feel like this is definitely beneficial.
Yeah.
And that brings me to why I'm still fasting today.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little bit sick yesterday, or not really sick, but I felt like I caught something. And yesterday I actually missed it. Like I thought I had just a stressful day and I wasn't really paying attention. And then so I ate yesterday in the evening. And then like my immune system had to fight that off all night. So I wasn't sleeping well and I felt that I'm getting sick. And normally as soon as I feel that, I stop eating.
Mm-hmm.
Because first I feel like you mentioned, like it takes energy to, not exactly your words, but it takes energy to digest. And also on the other hand, like it frees up space to to ramp up the immune system to really not be distracted by it. And then again, sugary foods aid inflammation, like makes the whole thing even worse. And
so you're actually fasting also, like at the moment, to work against the little flu or whatever is happening, and give your body the time to get all that solved, right?
exactly, and to also like increase the stress levels in the body. Like it's a little bit like, I think we talked about this breathing exercise. It's got it from Andrew Huberman, like this podcast doctor and professor or whatever. And like it's in hyperventilation and in breath holds, and the idea is to stress your system and release like stress hormones to activate your immune system. And from what I understand, the same thing happens when you start to get sick. And again, like it's like I feel it. Like I feel how my body now, like I would, if I would have eaten breakfast or even lunch,
Would it feel
like yeah, and I still feel like I'm recovering from whatever I caught yesterday, and it wasn't terrible, but like I need the space, and so I think I would probably eat like a light vegetable lunch, dinner later. Yeah, but that's an interesting side note that I often tell people. That again, like it's maybe a little bit unusual. You would think, oh, when you're getting sick, you need energy to fight the illness, but depends on the thing.
Yeah, and I think that is actually like very, very important point, and that's also why I would recommend everybody to try out intermittent fasting, because actually, like health wise, there's pros to it, definitely. Weight loss wise, there's pros to it. Now, obviously, you have to see, do you want to lose weight, or is it good for you to lose weight? Still, in 8 hours, you can eat a lot and still have like not lose weight, right? If you have the right calorie intake. But like first of all, this is why I say like there's actually very little things, or very little evidence, or however you would call it, that speaks against intermittent fasting. It's a healthy thing. It's something everybody could try out, and I would recommend everybody to try out. You won't have to do it all your life, maybe, but also you can to a certain extent. Also, I mean, we've been talking like about it, like the original approach of intermittent fasting is 16:8, I think. 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. Still, like, you can, like, what I do with my clients also is to, like, that's why I call it actually flexible intermittent fasting, and that is what I do with my clients. Like, we start usually easy with 12-12, 13-11, 14-10, so 14 hours of fasting, 10 hours of eating, and then see how we can extend it from there. If, like, somebody can't make more than that, then that is cool, and that is still fasting for me, right? So
Yeah.
this is the thing. I think, like, intermittent fasting can be very flexible, and and here, which is also like a point that you mentioned before. Um, it is the most, or it is a more natural way of eating, actually, than eating all the time. I mean, our ancestors, they didn't have fridges there. They couldn't just eat, go, I don't know, get a kebab or a taco or a pizza or whatever. They couldn't just go
Yeah.
somewhere and get their and get whatever they want and eat like every 3 hours, and then eat late in the night and eat early in the morning. They, I don't know, had to hunt or collect or whatever
Yeah.
food to eat. Then they had phases of eating, and then they had phases of fasting. And I think our body, and it's not only what I think, but also what science says, right?
Yeah.
Our bodies are made and are designed to actually have phases of fasting. And this is when our body cures these inflammations. And this is when our body actually gets into a healthy and a healthier state, when we give our body enough time to actually digest the food and cure these inflammations in our body. And this is also why I think it's not even an unnatural thing, but it's a natural thing. It's just like maybe not the thing that, not the way of eating that we in these days, in these modern times, do, because we can eat all the time, and that's what we do because we're just hungry and too lazy to fast, maybe. But it is a natural thing, and it has a lot of benefits to it, I think.
And it's interesting that I also, like, sometimes I talked about it before, but never made the connection. Like, we're in a weird time because now science tells us fasting is good. And like the last, I don't know how many years, that wasn't too much on the radar. But before, basically every religion was telling people to fast at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's fasting rituals or practices in almost every important religion or culture. And, or that's, like, I'm not a historian. Like, almost every is maybe too much, but in Christian, Hinduism, like,
We could name a few.
yeah, and a few big ones.
Uh,
And it's still, like, Ramadan is like an important part for so many people.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I think it's good to have to make statements about people should try it more. I feel
Mhm.
people are a little bit too, I don't know, afraid is the wrong word, but maybe skeptical, because like I said, for me at the beginning, like, I felt it was good, but everyone told me to eat breakfast,
Yeah.
and so, like, it wasn't that I was afraid to not eat, but yeah.
Yeah.
And so, how would you? I mean, how would you recommend people start? Like,
That's like, as I do, as I usually do it also with my clients. As I mentioned before, is I start easy. I start making, like, people who eat, I don't know, who have fasting phases on of like 10 hours when they sleep or something. I start with them saying, okay, 12-12. Try for 1 week to just have 12 hours of fasting. That would mean, as you mentioned before, 2 hours before going to sleep, to,
yeah,
like, fast, all right, or just not eat, just stop eating 2 hours before you go to sleep, and then give your body, if you sleep for 8 hours, another 2 hours before you have breakfast. All right. So for most people, this is still very doable. So then, if in the second week you feel this is doable, you can still try to do 13-11 in the second week.
yeah,
In the third week, if your body and also your mind get used to 13-11, you can in the third week try 14-10. If that is still doable, you try 15-9. If that is doable, you can try 16-8. And I think 16-8 is a very good number. Like, if people reach that, it's a very effective way eating, or how you say, a very effective relation, I think, between eating phases and fasting phases.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is how I start with my clients, and this is usually how it works very well, because you go little by little, step by step, get used to
It's
it physically,
it,
but also mentally, get also a feeling for how it is to fast, and maybe also start seeing the benefits from like the second week, third week, and then wanting actually to fast more because you see the benefits. So
I mean, it's interesting because I would take the same approach for working out, for example, like start slow and make sure you don't injure yourself. Because I don't see any risk in fasting, I take the different approach. I recommend people to start with 16/8, and then if that doesn't work, like figure out why. But it's like if you get too uncomfortable at 10 o'clock and you need to eat, then and so you can't make it to 12 o'clock, like we said, try 16, and then after 14 hours, basically you break your fast because you can't take it anymore. Which rarely happens. Like most people underestimate their willpower, or also like how well they can withstand discomfort.
Yeah.
And yeah, but interesting. We reached the end of our discussion time.
Oh, actually,
Already, yeah. Even though we would have so much more to say about fasting, but maybe we can
actually,
take.
we're gonna make another session
Oh,
about it
definitely.
another day. Cool.
But yeah, that was fun, very informative, and yeah, talk to you soon about something else.
Yes, let's go for it.
Cool.
It's
See you
good
soon.
talking to
Bye
you.
bye.
See you soon.